What meal traumatized you as a kid? Cheese and egg flan when I was about 7. This was in the UK and we had nasty school lunches, liver and onions, etc., but the cheese and egg flan was the worst. One day they served this, and the wrinkled old dinner lady lunch duty forced me to eat it. I threw it up all over her feet and got sent to the headmaster. I did not eat cheese or eggs for 11 years after that. My first time with cheese I was 18 and tried a pizza. Eggs took a while longer, and I can still only eat them if you can distinguish the yolk and white. Scrambled or omelets are okay. My mom used to make a baked fish casserole that had chunks of ocean perch, frozen peas and cheese on top. Not sure what else, maybe pasta. It smelled dreadful and tasted worse. And I've always had an issue eating seafood and cheese together. Her holiday dressing stuffing was rough too. Mushy white loaf bread with hunks of raw celery and onion. Used water to moisten it. Then stuffed in the bird. Ironically unknown for my dressing and my family. It was so not good as a kid that I had to find a way to make it delicious for myself more than anything. So when I was 4 my mom had this roommate who had a boyfriend who hated me. He would abuse me verbally. Physically, psychologically. He used to hit me and put out cigarettes on my skin. And maybe I was a little shit at 4 but I was 4. Anyways, this guy knew 2 things about me. I was a gullible kid and I hated onions. So he would tell me they were in everything. And I believed him. He told me they were in my own birthday cake and knew I wouldn't touch it. Then he sat down and ate half the cake in front of me with this smug sadistic look on his face. Dog. This was back in the 90s, maybe around 30 years ago, back in the old country. There was my neighbor's dog who, for reasons I couldn't possibly fathom, was butchered and cooked by her owner. The dog was youngish, friendly and was well known in the community. Said neighbor gave our family some of it or her, and my dad, for reasons I can't explain, accepted. I don't think anyone touched it though, and was thrown out before dinner. To this day, I'm suspicious of any cut of meat that looks weird or I'm unfamiliar with. Chicken and dumplings. The dumplings was just like bland homemade biscuit dough that got dropped in the pot. It came out looking like slimy brains, somehow it was still dry in the center. The chicken was just unseasoned boiled chicken with the bones. Sometimes the bones would find their way into the dumplings. The best part of the meal was the mixed vegetables, you know, the ones with the peas, corn, and square carrots. Classic white people with no seasonings besides salt and pepper. We ate this a few times a month. My parents would buy up Walmart steaks when they were on sale, usually shortly after Labor Day and other grilling holidays, and stick them in the freezer to use for special occasions, like birthdays or the end of the semester for school. They also didn't really know how to cook a steak, so they'd just kind of toss them in a glass baking dish and bake them for a while. The end result was usually something akin to a tire soaked in A1. I feel bad because they always meant well, but my siblings all dreaded steak night. Okay, so, hear me out. A PBJ. But the jelly was apricot. Turns out I don't like apricot. It was at a lady's house where my brother and I went for after school care, and she had a clean plate rule. I begged her to let me not eat it and I was a fat kid. I genuinely didn't understand why she wouldn't let me skip one sandwich. I wasn't asking to be given something else, but no, I was to finish it. I did, then ran to the bathroom and puked. And, yeah, I was traumatized by being made to eat something that revolted me. American-style goulash, which is ground beef, tomato sauce, onions, and seasonings all mixed together with elbow macaroni. There are many versions of it. This is what we had. When I was a child, my mom sent me and my sibling away for a summer. We went and stayed with her friend. Her friend had no business raising her kids, let alone 2 additional ones. She gave us the option of eating her shitty goulash or digging through the bins at McDonald's for food. This was every single day for 2 months. Wasn't a kid, this was actually a few years ago, but Malukia or Malakia, Malahia, depends where you're from. The texture is absolutely heinous. Some people love it and I respect that, but the texture for me was exactly the same as when you have a really bad cold and sniff really hard, and you feel your sinuses clearing into your mouth. Tried to be polite while eating it, but I couldn't get past 2 mouthfuls before I gagged louder than I wanted to in a cute little mom-pop Egyptian restaurant. My dinner that night would be a bag of sweet snap peas that my aunt gifted me the day before, usually for snacking, but I was saving them for one big meal. I was so hungry and I wanted to be creative and make a fulfilling meal out of what I had. So I took the time to pick all the peas out of their pods, put them in a bowl with tomato sauce, mustard, salt, and pepper. I tried to wipe them off and eat them, but I gave up and just cried so hard because I realized that I had wasted my sweet snap peas. Mom had a habit of clearing the fridge of leftovers by tossing everything in a pot and serving it for dinner. Ugh! The memorable combination was some old spaghetti sauce, not a bad start. Some baked beans kinda weird, but okay. Some leftover tuna noodle casserole getting weirder. Some peas gotta have a vegetable and, I kid you not, the leftover cherry jello. Why, Mom? Why the jello? I still have no idea why it all had to go in a single pot. Most vegetables, since it was always from a can, then boiled if it was anything other than a potato. Parents did what they had to do, but damn do I like my veggies roasted instead. Steak night was always chopped sirloin cooked to congratulations, covered with not cooked enough onions and enough A1 to fill a swimming pool, so I didn't like steak until I was an adult. I'm glad we never had to go hungry, but I'm allowed to say I don't want this ever again as an adult. Liver. They once served it at kindergarten. I already hated liver. Even the smell of it has always made me sick. I told the teacher I was sick, but the bitch told me to eat up. I ate a tiny bit and vomited all over my plate. She yelled at me that I have to clean it up myself. I think I was 4? I didn't clean it up, instead I cried so she had to clean it. I hope the bitch died a horrible, painful death. She was awful all around, constantly yelled etc. Still hate her. My mommy tried making mac and cheese for the first time. I really can't fully explain to you the taste of it, but just think burnt Velveeta. It was the nastiest thing I'd ever eaten, and she was so stressed and on edge she made us eat it and got mad at us when we complained about it. But it was literally inedible. She later put sausage in it to try and jazz it up, and surprisingly, it made it worse. I've never teared up eating before, but that. It was just vile. Smiley face. There's 2 for me I do not touch to this day. Seafood. After gutting and cleaning fishes, which was traumatizing enough as an 11-year, I do not touch any seafood. Not even fish sticks. Cornbread. We had a cold storage room. My mom used to store food and canned goods. She sent me down to fill the bowl with cornmeal. I went down there, opened a bucket, and was immediately met with the sight of these worms crawling all over and through it. Never again. Maggie brand, masala flavored 2-minute instant noodles. My mom made them for me. They're not particularly spicy, pretty bland, average at best, and I ate all of it without much thought. Big mistake. For some reason either they'd gone bad, expired, who knows? Spent the next 5 odd hours painting the porcelain brown in agony. We're talking like liquid napalm from a burst fire hydrant stream, from both ends. Took years until I ever touched instant noodles again. My mother would make macaroni and cheese, but dump a can or 2 of tuna into it to make it nourishing. She could also cook veal parmesan to shoe leather and make me sit at the table until I ate every bite. When she baked chicken breasts, it would be both dry and stringy, and pale white. She would always wrap it in aluminum foil so it wouldn't burn. So basically every meal she made that required more talent than a PBJ sandwich was traumatic for us. My grandparents thought it would be a great idea to bring the whole family to the sauerkraut festival one time in Ohio. Cookies, pizza, drinks, you name it, they all had sauerkraut. And the stench of it. Ugh, I think I was 10 or 11 at the time. I'm in my late 40s now and can barely stand eating a Reuben with light sauerkraut on it, and the smell. No thanks. He's pretty sure I've completely betrayed my German heritage at this point for this. When I was a kid, my mom dropped my siblings and I off at my grandparents' while they went on a weekend trip. For dinner we had pork and sauerkraut. Little did I know I caught a stomach bug and spent the night violently vomiting all over the house. I kept getting whiffs of the pork and sauerkraut from the kitchen and it kept making me throw up. Couldn't eat that meal for damn near 15 years after that. Now I love it and serve it with homemade spätzle hamburger. I don't like my food barbecued, and I also dislike beef. My family knew this as it was always a thing I didn't like. My dad made hamburgers one night and made me a hamburger. I was upset because I don't like them. He got nasty with me and forced me to take a bite. Through tears, I took a bite. There was blood. I freaked out. He got extremely upset with me. There was a lot of childhood trauma during this time. It was all bad. Oh God. This salad my mom would make that was literally just frozen peas and cheese chunks coated in mayonnaise. I couldn't even be near it without gagging, and they then beat me for being disrespectful and ungrateful. Whenever she'd make it I'd start crying and hide under the bed. I was around 5 or 6. Thank Christ she eventually stopped making it. I still hate mayo. To this day even the smell of it makes me physically sick. Vegetable patties. I think my mom just blended and boiled some canned mixed vegetables. They looked and tasted like puke on a platter. Whenever she made them it was a production trying to get me to eat. Then, a couple of months ago, my roommate made vegetable patties for a meal we were having. She used fresh vegetables including carrots, zucchini, and other sweet ones. The patties were great. Kid me would have gobbled them up. Someone explained to me why parents made their kids sit for hours at the dinner table over bad cooking. Anyway, tuna fish mayo for me. Stepmom and dad would make me sit for hours, and when I still didn't eat it, would save it for my next meal. Rinse and repeat for about a week, where she even remade it because it was going bad. I would eat out of the garbage in the garage cause I was so hungry, but the tuna made me physically ill. In the 1980s, frozen beef burgers were full of tubes, veins and gristle. They were absolutely revolting, and my mother served them plain, no ketchup, no cheese, and no bun. I'd refuse to eat and the burger would go cold and the fat congeal. She would insist I eat it, I'd refuse. Hours of sobbing and gagging from me. I'm still traumatized 49 years later. I'm vegan now and still struggling to forgive my mother. Growing up, I used to get a lot of food donated to my family by the Salvation Army. A lot of canned food and pastas. One night, when I was really little, my mom made me eat a can of green beans. Tasted absolutely awful, and was going moldy. Mom made me continue to eat the green beans. I just flat out stopped eating, and I think I went to bed hungry. I'm 21 now, and I still don't like green beans.